like for us men, we're wired to always find a solution so that we can carry on with our lives. So I guess this is extremely true for this case because we want to find a solution. Or like, oh, I can't move. How am I going to move? Right. So, I mean, without overanalyzing, without overthinking it, straight up, first up, look for a mentor, look for a coach, get that person to guide you. Plain and simple, because that's going to be your answer to getting from point A to point B.
Yep. And I'm going to go with, I'm going to try to put myself in the shoes of a guy, let's say, that's hesitant to invest in coaching. I mean, I think we all know the reasons why they object to it, but I'm going to ask you, why do you think men, or let's say Asian men in this case, are not usually willing to invest in coaching? Or why do you feel like they are resistant? And I'm just calling it. I know like a lot of listeners may be thinking, you're just trying to sell your coaching subtly. And I want to say, you're fucking right. Shit. But all kidding aside, this is actually would be very illuminating because it's showing how we understand what your challenges are and how you're thinking.
I guess it's like, it's really, from what I've seen and from what I've experienced, it's really the upbringing, the cultural upbringing, like parents and all that, you know, especially here in Singapore, we're really big on enrichment classes. So you have a kid who's done with school, and that kid's going to go on to tuition, guitar lessons, swimming lessons, maybe martial arts and gymnastics all in one day. So it's like, where's the time for the childhood? And this routine repeats itself, by the way, like, you know, like 7 days a week. Weekends, maybe even more enrichment classes, like drama classes, speech classes, and stuff like that. And parents would rather invest in things like that to help the kids grow, rather than in things like, okay, how can I help my child to maybe, for example, have more confidence, have more EQ, higher EQ, for example. Right? We don't hear that much of that being said here in Singapore. We hear a lot of tuition going on, a lot of things like, how can I improve my math? How can I be better at physics? How can I be better at science? How can I score that A?
You have to bring in the math stuff to it, right? We're fulfilling.
Oh yeah, of course, totally, man. Because I was a horrible student, that's why. I'm not a math guy, so yeah, as you can tell. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's the culture, and we keep that culture of us growing up, especially here in Asia. Like for us, it's the good grades, the school, then the fancy job. Nobody ever talks about like, what about yourself? How do you improve yourself? No, how do you actually invest in becoming like a better person? How about personal development? Nobody talks about personal development. You know, like it's funny, but personal development, people who are in personal development, there's only a small fraction of it, and it's even small for guys, because some guys, when I speak to them, they're like, well, what's all this Tony Robbins stuff? All I know is that he's somebody who speaks and this big guy who has a loud, booming voice. But nobody really knows what he does. And when I tell people, oh, NLP, they're like, what is NLP? Is that like a new book in the library or something? I'm like, okay, fine. You know, so it's like this unawareness of like how important personal development is. And it happens from a very young age. So that's the big problem that a lot of, you know, that's why a lot of guys are resistant to coaching, because they don't see how important it is to get a coach, how important personal development is. They think that it's all very logical, like, you know, quick fix. You know, the whole magic bullet syndrome. Like, yes, I want a quick fix. I want a quick fix to this. So give me my special magic pill, you know, that can fix this so that I can find a solution. You see, they're still going down the route of, I want a solution. That, you know, this whole coaching thing seems very mumbo jumbo, seems very fluffy, and it's not very, you know, because as a dating coach, I talk about emotions a lot. So guys are like, yeah, but how can I get the go? I'm like, all right.
That's so accurate. It's like, well, yeah, I can see what you're saying. So how do I text her? I was like, holy shit, the issue with you is neediness. The reason why you're asking that question is neediness. And it's not about how you can text her. Like, yeah, maybe you can make her laugh and shit. But if you're still fundamentally needy, it's going to come out.
Correct.
Yeah, and I want to punt it back to you because I know I kind of cut you off. But like,
no, it's all good. But yeah, like what I was saying is like, they want to know the technicalities behind it. They think it's a system, whereas in actual fact, it's so much more than that. So, you know, showing that value as a coach, that's really important. Like really going out there and telling them that, hey, you need coaching because this is the bigger picture. Now, they don't see the bigger picture. For them, it's more like, I just want this. Can you give me this? But in actual fact, they don't just want that. They actually want the bigger picture. It's just that they're not aware of it. So that's the reason why a lot of people are like moving away from coaching, because another problem that comes up is that, does it really work?
Yeah.
Or is this just a whole bunch of fluff which I can get off the internet?
Yeah.
Why should I listen to you? Right? Mm-hmm. So it's really a matter of awareness. First things first is like, having your first coaching experience is very scary. I would know it because, I went through boot camps myself, and it was freaking scary. I mean, I've never met my coach before that. I just signed up via a forum.
Yeah.
Right? And can you imagine like a guy who's 21 years old back then paying thousands of dollars to this American dude, okay, coming down from the States, meeting me in some hotel and coaching me, and I'm like, am I gonna die? Is my liver gonna be, taken away from me? Yeah, exactly. I'm like, okay, let's just go for it and see what happens. If I die, well, too bad then. But
you tried, you took your shot, right?
Yeah, at least something came out of it. At least something good, at least. So yeah, it was scary, but nonetheless, it was an experience which, when I look back, I never did regret going down that path, because I realized that a lot of us are afraid of stepping out of our comfort zones, right? Mm-hmm. And going for a coaching program, that is stepping out of your comfort zone like 100%, because you're putting like your life in the hands of someone else. Mm-hmm. That person can choose to totally mess it up, or to help you out. It's just a matter of whether have you chosen the right coach, or are you in the wrong company? Because if you're in the wrong company, that coach can really screw you up for like a very long time.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I think I encourage guys, and I don't even want to just necessarily promote us to make it seem like I'm more like, hey, we get you guys, right? But ideally, you want to find a guy that is similar to your upbringing and went through the same challenges that you went through. When it comes to dating coaching, when we do life coaching, I've done life coaching. Usually, it's more of a framework of questioning your beliefs. However, when it comes to dating coaching, especially as an Asian guy, I think it's best to find someone that will fit into what you've gone through. So, like, for example, if you're a Singapore listener, I mean, Val, like the Singapore culture. If you're an Asian American guy, like I know what it's like growing up as an Asian American guy, where the stereotypes of us is small dick. We're always cast as a nerd. People can make racist jokes about us when we're in the same room, compared to like someone did that to a black guy. There would be a lot of riots, right, and everything. And I would say that modeling is really effective. And the other thing I would want to add on to what you're saying is, I was listening. Have you ever heard of that coach, Steve Chandler? He's like a really famous.
Sounds very familiar. I might have read about him.
Yeah, he's a pretty famous life coach. And the reason why he says a lot of people don't pay for coaching is because, number one, they don't have a concept of it. They think it's kind of just like a consultant, which I understand why they would think that. But the second thing is, they're scared of opening up. They're scared that they're going to give you money for you to find out that they're a fucking loser. This is what they're thinking, right? Okay. And the other thing is they don't trust you. They don't know you enough, and or they don't believe it's going to work, and or they don't believe they can make it work. And that's the reason, especially, I think it's that shame. I think ultimately it's also like a lack of knowledge, but also shame ultimately is what holds people back. Because
totally agree.
I've found actually when it comes to this, not just coaching, but with women, the more you are able to get out of your comfort zone and be more vulnerable. And again, I want to be very clear. I don't mean being vulnerable in the sense of like crying. I'm not saying crying is a bad thing. I want to be really clear, but the whole like spewing your emotions out because Jeremy told you to be vulnerable. I want to be clear. There's boundaries around it. However, the more vulnerable you are, the more you are willing to be real with people. I found in business, with women, and with relationships, with anything, I've become more successful and had better experiences.
Yes, totally agree. I mean, the whole idea of being vulnerable, I think that is where you really have power, because a guy who is vulnerable and real, that guy is the one who normally stands out in the room. And you always wonder, what is it that makes this person so charismatic? And this is coming from my friend, who's a charisma coach, like here in Singapore. So I spoke to him. He's like, he told me the secret to charisma is actually being vulnerable. When everybody else is being guarded, but you are being vulnerable, they're wondering like, why is this guy like that? And instantly you really step up, and instantly you're seen as somebody who's real. Instantly you're seen as someone who has guts and someone who has the balls to go out there to speak your heart. And that's where you get people who are like, how can I be like you?
Yeah. And I think there's one thing I want to tack on to your point is I was thinking, I'm not going to dive into my coaching side too much, right? Because I want to keep it focused on your wisdom. And the thing I do want to add is I noticed that in the past, I was actually too nice to clients. And that actually reminded me that in life, honesty is a gift. Very few people will tell you the truth. Let's say what's wrong with you or how people perceive you. It's a fucking gift. And I know some people might say, okay, great, I can be an asshole now. No, I don't mean that. But I mean, when it comes to growth and relationships, it is a gift to have brutal honesty or really raw honesty, even if you're expressing yourself in your story. Because most people, what they get are the projections other people put forth. And they also hear what people think they want to hear. And that happens, and that keeps us down, right? Because we're just putting on friends. Most people are putting on friends. And most people don't have the gift of really hearing someone's truth or hearing someone reflect honestly. So I want to say to the listener, it is a real truth. It is a real gift that you give others and that you also receive when there is honesty.
True. Yeah, totally, man. I mean, it's not easy being honest because of the fact that you got to fight against the whole, like, what is this person going to perceive me as if I'm honest with them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, spot on, man.
Yeah. And I let's kind of relate it back to your focus, since your focus is on not just being it's not being a pickup artist. I want to be really clear to the listeners, but
Thank
your
God.
focus, yeah, it's like, oh shoot, I actually almost misspoke. But your focus is on helping men attract their dream woman, which is very my goal. And I know we care more about the deeper stuff. And how does honesty factor into this? Or how would you kind of slide it over like, hey, honesty is important in attracting your dream woman because X?
It's that's a very good question because you see, like, it's like this blind driver syndrome. A lot of people, blind drivers, basically, for those listeners who are not too familiar with it, I'm sure Jeremy, you know what it is. So blind driver syndrome is basically, imagine you call for a Uber and then the car arrives, or you call for a Grab and the car arrives and you're like, okay, and you step into a car. The first thing that happens is your driver turns around and the fellow is blindfolded, and the fellow is saying like, hey, I can get you to your destination in 5 minutes flat. And you know that it's a big risk because this person doesn't know where he or she is going, and they're claiming that they can get you to a certain point. Now, the question here is, are you going to risk your life with that person, or would you prefer to take an Uber whereby the person can actually see and tell you exactly, on the GPS, how long is it going to take for you to get from point A to point B, rather than like, hey, yeah, I can get you in 5 minutes flat, even though you're blindfolded. Like, what? That's blind driver syndrome. Basically, if you're not honest, you at the start, you're gonna mislead the girl, and that's something to me whereby that's a big problem because when you mislead her, you start to have a lot of miscommunications, and all of this is going to lead up to a lot of unhappiness, resentment, and frustration down the road. So basically, if it comes to like honesty, I would always suggest to all my clients, and like, in fact, this is what I tell all my clients: be honest upfront. Even though if you have to lose her, be honest upfront. Because the thing is that if you're not looking for a relationship, be honest, straight up. Like, since we're being since we're being on the topic of honesty and vulnerability, like when I first started dating my girlfriend, the first thing I told her was, hey, I'm not looking for a long-term relationship.
She's like, I'm going to change that. Let me trap his ass.
Actually, it's interesting because she wasn't looking for one either. Mm-hmm. So you see, it's like, it was established from the get-go that, hey, this is not for us. But then things kind of change. Now that's fine. If that happens down the road, it's okay. Because why? It means that, wow, okay, this person has really kind of swept you off your feet, and you realize, oh, okay, this is who I've been looking for a long time, right? However, the difference is that when you are not honest at the start, you say that you want a long-term girlfriend, but in actual fact, you don't. You see? So it's like, really, like at the start, you're like, just to win some brownie points, you're telling her, yeah, I'm really relationship material, like, I'm all about, spending Saturday nights or weekends at home, curling out over the couch with having popcorn and watching Netflix or whatever it is. So, things like that, it's very misleading because a girl would say like, okay, he's the home, he's kind of the homebody, and he's somebody who's like, I can curl up to and chill with. When in actual fact, on the side, you're seeing like 4 or 5 other girls.
Mm-hmm.
So that itself is a big problem, because you are not being congruent, and you're not being honest with your intentions. And when your intentions are not there, in fact, if your intentions are not clear, it's going to be a big mess down the road. So that's why it's important to have honesty right at the start. Even though if it means people are going to hate you, even though if it means people are going to disrespect and disagree with you, because it's better to be disrespected. It's easier to be somebody who's disliked, rather than putting up a facade and trying to pretend to be someone whom you're not.